Hold on. I want to say that before you go out there and comment on this video, before you go out there and tweet at me saying that this is a ridiculous idea, or you send me any DMs that are angry and filled with rage because of this idea being tossed out there, I want you to hear me out first. I'm not making this video because I think it's a good idea. I'm not making this video because I think it's actually going to happen. I'm not making this video because an actual insider went out there and said this is an idea, but I'm making this video because a lot of people are talking about this topic. And that's sort of what we do, right? We follow the news, we follow what people are talking about, and we bring it up here on the channel in a way that's colloquial. It's like I'm talking to a friend at a coffee shop saying, hey, you see that thing people are talking about on Twitter? Yeah, it's this. That's kind of why I'm making this video. And I wanted to do my own fact-checking and research before actually coming out here and saying what it is that I'm going to say, because I do think that when it comes to this idea that was shared on social media, that got super popular on Twitter, and that was written about in an article or two, I feel like this idea as a whole is so miscalculated from the source that even the person that's getting quoted as to saying this isn't being quoted correctly. Now, you already know from the title, you already know from the thumbnail who we're talking about and what teams they're on. We're talking about the Red Wings and we're talking about the Leafs. And the idea that if you see yourselves a William Nylander trade to Detroit, the Toronto Maple Leafs may reportedly ask for Moritz Seider as a return. The reason this idea got super popular is because we had ourselves, the Grindline folks, post a little screenshot of an article on their Twitter page yesterday. No, 2 days ago, excuse me. Grindline Podcast, they do some good work. I was on their show. They're a good group of guys. They know their stuff. But they posted this little excerpt from an article that we are going to look at that says this. It's believed that William Nylander is the most likely of the Leafs to be traded, and Ansar Khan, presumably, reports that if the Wings want him, the Leafs will be asking for Moritz Seider. Grindline screenshotted this and posted it onto their Twitter page saying, "Don't do drugs, folks. Hashtag Let's Go Red Wings." This got 300,000 views, a whole bunch of likes, it's at 1K right now, a bunch of replies, a bunch of retweets, and a bunch of quote tweets. And this tweet was really the one that got this idea going on social media. I saw a lot of people replying to this individual tweet, some Red Wings fans saying, yeah, no, hang up the phone. If the Leafs are trying to trade Nylander for Seider, yeah, sorry, Stevie Y. Just stop talking to Treliving. Don't do it. Then you had the Maple Leafs fans also saying the same thing. Hey, if Treliving is shopping Nylander and Stevie Y is offering up just Seider, sorry man, hang up the phone. And you know what I always say, right? When you have a trade idea that has both fan bases pissed off, that's how you know it's a good trade. That's how you know that the value of both of these assets are a lot more close than you would immediately assume if both teams' fan bases are equally pissed off that this idea is even being suggested. And for the Grindline folks, they're a Red Wings based podcast, so a bunch of their listeners are primarily Red Wings based, so you got a lot of replies onto this tweet from Red Wings fans saying the same thing. But before talking about the idea itself, Moritz Seider and William Nylander, a one-for-one trade, a whatever type of trade, extra stuff, whatever, before we go over that, I wanted to fact-check this article in particular first. Now, the Grindline folks went out there and took an article from NHLTradeRumor.com. This was from last week, written by a fellow named Rob Ellis. Detroit Red Wings interested in William Nylander. And in the piece, there is the literal written out text that was screenshotted onto the Grindline's Twitter account. It is believed Nylander is the most likely of the Leafs to be traded, and Khan reports, Ansar Khan assumably, that if the Red Wings want him, the Leafs will be asking for Seider. Okay, that's the same thing. But this article in particular says that Ansar Khan, the MLive reporter that primarily does Red Wings stuff, is saying that if the Leafs are trading Nylander to Detroit, the Leafs will ask for Seider. Now, I wanted to verify if that was actually the case. If Ansar Khan went out there and wrote an article or said something on those lines. And what I found instead was an article from May 26, 2023, so a few days before this Seider Nylander article was published. This Ansar Khan piece was published on MLive.com. Could the Red Wings Yzerman deal with Toronto for a needed scoring boost? And in the piece, what Ansar Khan does is he writes about the big four, the core four pieces on the Toronto Maple Leafs forward core. He writes about Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and Tavares, and there's a conversation written about each of these guys potentially being sent over to Detroit. Now, if you go to the William Nylander section of this article written by Khan on May 26, you won't find anything written about Moritz Seider in the little paragraph. It talks about draft picks, it talks about the 9th overall pick, 17th overall pick, etc., etc. And it says at the end, if the Red Wings can't deal with Toronto, Yzerman will likely have other options in what could be a busy summer of training in the NHL. If you open this article and you search for the name Seider, he pops up 2 times, but not in the conversation regarding William Nylander. It pops up on the Austin Matthews conversation. This is what Ansar Khan really writes. It's a pipe dream to think that the Red Wings could acquire Austin Matthews. Their best bet would be to overpay him as a free agent if he hits the market in 13 months. Toronto would surely ask for Seider as a starting point in any talks with the Wings. Detroit probably would be willing to package a number of players, prospects, and picks that don't include Seider to get Matthews, provided they can lock him to an extension. But why would he sign an extension with the Wings when free agency is near? This is all I could find when it comes to Ansar Khan, quote-unquote, talking about a Seider trade to the Leafs. It's not talking about Seider getting traded for Nylander, it's talking about Seider getting traded for Matthews. So, this article on NHLTradeRumors.com, is that what it's called? No, NHLTradeRumor.com, excuse me. That goes out there and specifically cites Ansar Khan as to saying that Nylander could be traded over for Seider. I don't think that this article did their research properly, nor did they interpret any of Ansar Khan's actual things in the right way. Now, who knows? Maybe there was a radio hit or a TV hit somewhere that I didn't find, or maybe there's another article where Ansar Khan says specifically, okay, yeah, the Leafs could trade Nylander and they could ask for Seider in return. Maybe there's another piece out there that says that, but I did not find it. So if anybody did find it, then let me know in the comments where that was reported. But let's go back over onto that main idea. Let's talk about the idea of Seider for Nylander, because I saw a lot of fan bases, both fan bases, not a lot, just both of them, ticked off at this idea. Oh, Nylander is better than what Seider offers. Oh, Seider is going to be so good. Why are you only getting Nylander? A litany of Leafs fans apparently wouldn't want Seider for Nylander. They'll be pleased to know that the feeling is very much mutual. Greg McCagg said this after the entire argument got started online. You also had yourselves Cohen Storm, who went out there and said this. This also got a lot of views and a lot of likes. Staggering, the replies don't understand how good Nylander is, and if you're interested in acquiring him, this is what the cost would be. Then you have a lot of people saying that Seider isn't really worth it, Nylander is more valuable, and this is my 2 cents right here. If you were to evaluate William Nylander and Moritz Seider as talents on the hockey team, how good they are and the magnitude of what that goodness is on their teams, I'd say that they are roughly equal. Like, Nylander getting the 80-something points he can per year with the style of play that he plays, run and gun, offense, he can shoot, he can score, he can play make, he can do a lot of great things, and he shows up in the playoffs, which is something that the other core 4 pieces cannot say they consistently do. You take this Nylander profile and you compare it to Moritz Seider. 50-plus points in a good year, maybe 60-plus in a career year. He's got such a good shutdown ability, very good in his own zone. He can reverse hit like crazy. He can skate like the wind when he wants to. The magnitude of how valuable both of these playstyles are to their teams, in my opinion, is equal. But Seider is younger. Nylander is more expensive. Nylander's contract is also expiring soon. So when it comes to value for value, on the ice, you could say that they're roughly the same, but when you take a look at the other intangibles, Seider gets a slight edge in my opinion. Now, does this mean that if you were to trade William Nylander, Seider would be a little bit of an overpay? Maybe. Depends on who you ask. There are a lot of Leafs fans going out there saying that they wouldn't accept a Seider for Nylander trade because they wouldn't be getting enough for William Nylander. And this perspective becomes more understandable when you acknowledge that Nylander has been more valuable and better than Tavares, Marner, and Matthews at many points in all of these guys' careers as Toronto Maple Leafs. And so this idea works. In my opinion, it does work. Even though the writer of NHLTradeRumor.com went out there and just misquoted it from Ansar Khan, I do think it's a worthwhile idea to talk about, and because it was discussed so prominently on social media the past few days, I decided to make this video about it. So you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you like this idea? Do you not? If you're a Wings fan, what are your thoughts? If you're a Leafs fan, what are your thoughts? Why do you not like it, or why are you okay with it? Nylander for Seider. The floor is yours in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. Juraj, and bye.